Veteran on the Move, episode 26. Welcome to Veteran on the Move, your pathfinder to freedom. If you're a transitioning veteran, an entrepreneur wannabe, or someone who's still stuck in that job trying to escape, this podcast is dedicated to your success. So welcome aboard, sit back, and enjoy the ride. Lieutenant Colonel Justin Constantine, U.S. Marine Corps, volunteered for a deployment to Iraq in 2006. While on a routine combat patrol, an enemy sniper shot Justin in the head, causing catastrophic damage, destroying his jaws and much of his face. Thanks to the heroic efforts of a young Navy corpsman and his own warrior spirit, Justin is still alive today. Since his injury, Justin has continued to lead from the front and serve as a role model to other wounded warriors. Justin is an entrepreneur, published author, and member of the National Speakers Association. After his injuries, Justin was the honor graduate of his class at the Marine Corps Command and Staff College and is now pursuing an advanced law degree at Georgetown University. Through his journey of courage, injury, resilience, and triumph, Justin demonstrates that we are all stronger than we think we are. His personal story of recovery and success is a testament to the power of the human spirit, and the message he shares applies to us all. Justin Constantine, thanks for being here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I've given everybody a little bit of an intro about what you did in the Marine Corps and what happened in Iraq. If you could go over a little bit of details with you about your Marine Corps career and what your Iraqi deployment.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I actually joined the Marine Corps while I was in law school. After my second year of law school, I went to Officer Candidate School at Quantico and then went back and finished up law school. So in active duty, I served as a judge advocate. I was in Okinawa for a year as a criminal defense attorney, and then I was at Camp Pendleton, California for about 4 years working on the prosecution side of the house. I left active duty in 2004. I joined a reserve unit in 2005 that was really for lawyers who went out and taught infantry units the law of war and Geneva Convention and try to help them when they deployed, so it wouldn't be hard to make decisions on what they could do on the battlefield. And then in spring of 2006, there was a message came out that a unit near me, the 4th Civil Affairs Group, was looking for officers for the deployment. So I volunteered to join them as a Civil Affairs team leader. I led a small team of 8 Marines, and we were attached to a 3-2, 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines out Camp Lejeune once we got to Iraq. So we left and we trained this summer. We mobilized in June of 2006, deployed at the end of August, linked up with 3-2 in Habbaniyah, Iraq, which is in Al Anbar between Fallujah and Ramadi, beginning in September. So as a civil affairs team leader, I went out. Our team went out on a lot of patrols. Our job was to develop relationships with local Iraqis and help rebuild the basic infrastructure that had been destroyed. So we had to work with them, and we wanted to inject money in our economy, pay them to do the work that they needed, and get these guys back to work and try to create a better environment. It was very difficult because the fall of 2006, insurgency was its most powerful level, and just for cooperating with us a little bit, Iraqis get visited at night by the insurgents with death threats. So hard to convince them to work with us. I worked closely with our battalion commander. He put me on what he called his jump team, which was about a dozen of us who worked closely together and went out on missions a lot to check on his Marines and go to forward operating bases and a lot of offensive stuff, but also intel and civil affairs. I was shot in the head during one of those patrols. It was just a regular patrol. We knew a sniper was near there because he'd already killed a few of our Marines. I was shot behind my left ear and a bullet came out of my face. In fact, when the Marines around me thought I'd been killed, when the corpsman came running over, they said, "Don't worry about the major, he's dead." But Corpsman Grant rolled me over, and I was no longer breathing, but somehow he was able to perform rescue breathing, even though my face was totally destroyed, and then he cut out my throat, pouring an emergency tracheotomy, so I wouldn't drown my own blood. This is a pretty amazing young man. He had never done this on a human before. He had done it once on a pig in a training environment at Camp Pendleton for corpsmen. So even though the sniper was still shooting, and it was a really dirty environment, and there was sand and dust everywhere, and sniper was there. So all that, he did such a perfect job. My tracheotomy that my plastic surgeon thought another surgeon had performed it. And I think he was 24 years old at the time. So amazing skill and courage that George Grant that day, and the Marines around me who all helped me get to an aid station. We drove 75 miles an hour to an aid station, or 70 miles an hour, even though we never drove faster than 15 miles an hour because of the IEDs in the road. So that was a young Lance Corporal, Jordan Bueller, who helped me save my life as well. So that was back in 2006. I recovered enough by 2007 to go back to work, and I did do that. I can go into that if you like, or
talk about a little bit of how it was transitioning back into the workforce and what you're looking for and what you did and what that was all about.
Okay, yeah, it was challenging. As I said, I was a lawyer by trade. I was a reservist, but my job, I worked with at Department of Homeland Security, one of the components, ICE, and I was a lawyer there. My job required a lot of talking. I taught classes, I worked on contracts, and the damage to even though a year had gone by and I had a lot of surgeries, I still didn't have any lower dentures. I was missing almost all my teeth, so I drooled all the time. Talking was very difficult. It was hard for people to understand me, so I knew I needed to find a better job. And I did get one at Department of Justice, and some friends, some other Marines that worked there, and they were able to help me out. And this is a job that was mostly appellate work. So it was mostly filing motions and briefs on behalf of the government, very little talking, just research and writing. So it was actually perfect for me. And because it was a government job, it was relatively easy for them to work with my schedule. I still had surgeries, and I have post-traumatic stress counseling. So it was a challenging time. However, at the same time, I was committed to having a full recovery. I didn't want this injury to get in the way of anything. And so I was still a drilling reservist. I was going to the Marine Corps Command and Staff College. It was like once or twice a month down at Quantico, and I actually ended up being honor route of my class there. And I launched my first small business, Iraq and Back, all at the same time. So I was just kind of proving to myself that this wasn't going to get in the way of anything I wanted, and that's kind of how Iraq and Back started.
And so you just had an incredible experience, and you've got an incredible amount of stuff going on. I'm interested to know why you kind of jumped into the entrepreneurship role with Iraq and Back.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I guess I think a lot of other wounded warriors feel this way, where after their injury, they realize there's a lot that they can't control in life. And I certainly felt this way. I was like, wow, this is random. One day I was a lawyer at Homeland Security. Next day I'm in Iraq. I mean, I volunteered, so I control that. But, shot in the head. 2 weeks before that, I was almost killed by an IED, but it had been in place backwards. So I was sprayed with dirt and gravel and not shrapnel, which really killed me. One of our convoys, one of the vehicles was blown up. I mean, this is all, I was only there for 6 weeks. So there's all this kind of stuff was happening all the time to everyone there. So all the stuff we could not control. And so once I came back, I thought, I need to be able to control something. And it wasn't necessarily an overt thought. I think it was a little bit subconscious. But I thought, well, I can control work. I can control my schedule. And so I launched this business. I went to a program at Syracuse University called the Entrepreneurship Boot Camp for Disabled Veterans, which I encourage for any post 9/11 vet who's interested in starting their own business. They have chapters all around the country now. But so I went there, and because I had made my head was really disfigured for a long time and swollen after my injury. And so anytime we would go out, people would stare and clearly wonder what happened. So my wife and I were at the beach. I made a T-shirt that said "Iraq and Back" in big letters, just so people would see what had happened. But it caused a lot of people to come up to me and start conversations saying, "Hey, thank you for your service," or "My brother was there," or, "I'm a Vietnam vet," or whatever. And I thought, wow, this is getting a lot of positive reactions, which so many of our post 9/11 guys are walking around. No one knows who they are, wounded or not. A lot of them don't have, they have invisible wounds in war, or they weren't injured. But what if we could have some clothes or hats and stuff people could wear that would just identify them, not in an obnoxious over the top way, and then people could give them the positive reactions they were giving me, because I felt like people across America wanted to say thank you for what we were doing. And so my wife and I, this is part-time, it was online. We created an online store, had a bunch of designs for men, women, and children, and backpacks, and a whole bunch of gear. And it was hard work though. And when I went to the boot camp for entrepreneurship, I learned a lot while I was there. And I learned a lot with that business, even though it was very small in scope, but about getting a supply chain, how to get good deals, how to work with people. I also learned that, there's a lot of goodwill out there, but a lot of it comes down to the bottom line. And for instance, if I was working with a company or a nonprofit that was going to have a golf tournament and they were going to have 100 shirts, and I said, well, why don't you let me do your shirts for you, just mass produce with your logo or whatever. And even though they knew I was a sales veteran, if my shirt was 75 cents or a dollar more than someone else's, they went with that other group. And that was hard to swallow. I thought, where's the goodwill? But, is a dollar really that big a deal? I'm small time. I don't have a huge manufacturing chain here. But that didn't matter to a lot of people. It was the bottom line. And so that was a tough lesson to swallow. Anyway, we wrapped that up a couple of years ago. We ended up we had about 500 shirts left, and what we did was we opened it up to appeal to the public, people who hadn't deployed but liked the message. And I said, look, if you buy a shirt or one of these things at cost, so $10, for instance, for a shirt, I won't make a profit, but I will bundle up all the ones people buy. They don't want them for themselves, but they want to donate them. So I'll bundle them up and send them down to Brook Army Medical Center, where they have a huge facility for wounded warriors. And so some people would buy like 20 or 30 shirts at a time. I would bundle those up, send them down to the wounded warriors and their families as a donation, and then the organization down there would send a letter to the individuals who bought those shirts. So it kind of worked out great, where people across America could support our troops with a tangible item that the wounded warriors and their families really appreciated. And we ended on that note a couple years ago.
And then go over some of the other happenings in your life briefly, and how you arrived at where you're at now.
Okay, so as I said earlier, I was working for the Department of Justice, and then I was asked to come work on Capitol Hill with the Senate Veteran Affairs Committee as a counsel there, because I had a Purple Heart and because I had gone through all this recovery, which is still ongoing. Actually, I have more surgery next week. But that committee oversees what the VA does, all the legislation of the VA. So I was a good fit there. I worked there for a couple of years, and then I also left and worked for about 2.5, close to 3 years, really, for the FBI as an attorney on a counterterrorism team. And so that was a great fit for me because of my military background and my interest in national security. I wrapped that up actually last July, so just about a year ago. I left there. I started my own business on the side while I was at the FBI for inspirational speaking, and that's what I do now full time. I'm an inspirational speaker, and I work half time. I have a contract with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation on their Hiring Our Heroes initiative, which is solely dedicated to working with corporations on their veteran hiring initiatives. And in fact, over there, I lead a small team focusing on recovering warriors and their caregivers, employment options for them. Also, on top of that, I have one more class this fall. I decided to pursue an advanced law degree because I thought, well, I can't. It'd be tough to be a lawyer with some of the issues. The type of lawyer I used to be, a trial lawyer, and that's what I wanted to do as a career. I can't really do that with my limitations, and so through the VA's book rehab program, I'm getting an advanced law degree at Georgetown. I have one more class, and then that will set me up if I want to be a teacher for law or work at a think tank. So I have my own business, and I'm finishing up this degree, and then I'm also trying to, I'm starting to build out workshops so I can help corporations that want to hire veterans and want to bring them, find them, onboard them, retain them all successfully, because there's a lot of companies with great veteran hiring initiatives, a lot of goodwill out there because they recognize the value our veterans bring to the workforce. But I think their HR isn't used to working with so many veterans, and so I want to help with that. I'm also in the beginning. I've been in the beginning stage of writing a book for a long time. I haven't made much progress, but I have 3 books on my mind that I'm trying to get started on.
Now, do you ever sleep?
I do sleep, but in fact, I try to sleep more. A lot of the great thinkers, a lot of successful people say you have to get 8 hours of sleep, and I do believe that. If I get 6 hours, I'm just not very productive. But I've been reading a number of books recently about healthy work-life balance. One book I'm almost done with called The 4-Hour Work Week, which is really eye-opening on how you can do so much more if you work productively and strategically. One quick example is just you email once a day or maybe twice a day in 1 hour blocks. Don't look at it all day long, because then you get sucked into stuff that can definitely wait. Just use your time wisely. And so, yeah, I sleep, but there's just, I don't know if it's because of my injury or this is just how I was, but I just feel there's so much to do. There's so many people that help. I'm on the board of Wounded Warrior Project and also another group called Give an Hour, which provides mental health counseling to post 9/11 vets. I'm involved in a number of other Wounded Warrior groups because there's just so many people out there who need help, and that work will never stop.
So listening to everything you've accomplished, a lot of which you accomplished after you were shot by the sniper, it seems to me, and if I read your bio, you could pretty much write your own ticket and go out there and do whatever you would want to do, but yet you've arrived at an entrepreneurial opportunity, which is what you've really put your passion into. Now, why is it you, instead of going and getting one of these really high-level jobs that you've already had and you could probably go back to if you wanted to, why have you chosen entrepreneurship and decided to go out on your own?
Yeah, well, you're right. Financially, I was comfortable at the FBI. I mean, I was GS-15, so the pay was competitive, and so. And also now, frankly, I have, VA compensation. I was military retired as lieutenant colonel, so I have a little bit of money coming in that way as well. But I really like the idea of succeeding or failing based on what you do. And at the same time, by no means do I want to say that I've had these successes or I've had a very fortunate recovery just because of me. I've had so many people pulling for me, starting with Dahlia, my wife, and then my family, a number of veterans groups, and then people at every step of the way who just wanted to help me succeed. And I'm well aware that there are a lot of other wounded warriors and a lot of transitioning service members who don't have those just inherent opportunities. So this is by no means all just because of me and who I am. I've been very fortunate. But more to your point, I like the idea of being my own boss. I want to, life is short. I could have checked out 8 years ago. I want to do what I want to do, whether it's going and play golf for an hour this afternoon or watching TED Talk YouTube videos for an hour from Better Ideas, or going and setting up 3 meetings in a row. You just can't do that when you're working for a corporation. Yeah, you might make good money, but you're working for someone else. There's just something to be said for doing your own business, and I think it's hard to describe, but once people start, it's hard to quit. Common knowledge is that your first business will not be your last, and that's already been the case with me. I mean, Iraq and Back Again was very small. My inspirational speaking business is doing it's much bigger, much better. I speak to a lot of corporations, and I really love sharing what I've learned during my recovery. And as I say in my speeches, typically, what I went through physically is extreme, no doubt, but what I've learned isn't. And I've learned some basic concepts that help me get through some tough times, whether it's that teamwork is critical for success, or that you're stronger than you think you are, or that just the power in each of us to push past and overcome adversity is always there. These basic lessons I've learned are something that I focus on all the time. And so I love sharing that with groups. Like, for instance, 2 weeks ago, I was in Dallas speaking the big craft store, Michael's. They had their annual leadership conference. And I spoke to 1,700 of their managers about some basic Marine Corps values, really, about integrity and honesty and transparency and being part of a team and succeeding together. And I got 2 standing ovations from 1,700 people. I had a line of people who wanted to take a picture, and about 30 or 40 emails or Facebook connections or LinkedIn, just people saying, wow, that was amazing what you said and what you've gone through. And I remind them, I'm just one. So many of us coming out of the military have these same stories or have done incredible things. The problem is we downplay them in the military. We don't brag about ourselves. We think about the team first. And so I think so many of us have great stories, have great things to bring to the workforce. We have to remind ourselves of that because the public wants to hear these stories. The American public believes in our military. And I'm in a good place where I can go and set up good contracts, go speak to these corporations or universities or nonprofits, and really I see it on their face how much they care about us.
You know, I have heard you speak in person, and it is an incredibly inspirational speech. So kudos go out to you for being able to touch people like that and change lives literally with just telling your story. You've kind of, at this point, I guess you could say you've kind of made it in the inspirational speaking business, or at least you've finally got there. You know, you still got a lot to enjoy here in your future, but it wasn't easy, because I remember talking with you quite a while ago, and it was really a tough nut to crack to break into the inspirational speaking world.
I imagine this is just like any other business field. I mean, I've been doing it solidly for a year now. And before that, I was there's a side job probably for a year as well. So I have some experience under my feet, but there are so many others who have done so much, who are so engaged. And so certainly I'm just starting to get there, but it's not easy. In fact, I was turned down by several speaking agencies. One didn't even return my call, and fortunately, I'm now represented by the Worldwide Speaking Group in Alexandria, Virginia, and they've been great. But like anything else, it just takes a lot of perseverance. Business development is about relationships, just like your success in life is about relationships. So it means getting out there and going to a lot of events, speaking for free, providing information and knowledge to other people, volunteering to help however you can, and then just asking people to help you too. Like I spoke at a conference a year ago in Dallas, and then the CEO and I got along great, so I asked him to help me out. This is an Exeter Finance Corporation. I asked Mark Floyd to help me out with recommending me to his peers. He said, let's go out to New York and talk to our private equity firm, Blackstone, about how maybe they could help you. Well, we went there and did that. And the gentleman I spoke to said, hey, we're having our annual conference in a few weeks where we're having 75 CEOs who run our portfolio companies come up here for annual meeting. Why don't you talk to all of them? And I said, why don't I? That'd be fantastic. Wow. How often you get something like that? So I spoke to the CEO, the Weather Channel, the Quinta, the hotel chain. Again, Michaels was there, and a number of them. And so since then, I've spoken to 5 or 6 of those companies who the CEOs are there, because I had a chance to connect with a decision maker, and they liked what they saw, and they wanted me to bring that to their employees. So that was a phenomenal networking opportunity. But that's just my little example. I mean, everyone has one if you work hard, and so. It wasn't easy at first, and I did seek for free at a lot of events just to get exposure, and I still do. I mean, when veterans groups ask me to talk, it's impossible for me to say no. It's just a question if I have the availability. And then I spoke for a certain price, and now I have a higher price, and I stick to that price because I bring a certain value, and I don't want to dilute it. And so I think anyone who's thinking about starting a business has to recognize that when you're small, it's one thing, and once you get bigger and some brand awareness and some recognition, then you're in a whole different position. And I'm always working to increase my brand and my position, really.
Hey, do you mind if I ask how much you're getting for a typical speaking engagement?
Sure. When I speak to corporations, my standard fee is $10,000. So that's about a 45-minute presentation. I have an introductory video that they play, which is 8 minutes long. But each one requires a lot of preparation because I meet with the leadership several times to understand what's going on at their conference, and I tailor my presentation to sync up exactly with the message they're giving to their people. And so, it's taken a while to get here. I've given a lot of speeches now, and I would always hate to. My biggest fear is for someone, a client, to think they didn't get their money's worth. So I always over prepare for every single one because I want to make sure it's a good value for them and for me. But there's a lot of speakers out there who charge a lot more than that. And so I'm kind of on the lower end.
But I would say, man, good on you, because it wasn't much more than a year or so ago when I was talking with you that you weren't getting any paid speaking engagements. So rock on.
$1,000 or $2,000 maybe, and it's taken a lot of hard work. I mean, believe me, I'm thrilled at where I've gotten to now, but there's always a lot more work to do.
Now, for any veterans out there, not necessarily veterans that are considering going into the motivational speaking world, but I mean, there are some that are thinking about that. For any veterans out there that are thinking about just starting their own business or getting into the world of entrepreneurship, what kind of words of wisdom would you have to pass on?
Well, first of all, I would definitely recommend going to one of these free courses that are out there. You went to the one at Oklahoma State, and I went up and spoke there. That's a great example of those. The folks who started that came from the program where I went to at Syracuse, Entrepreneurship Boot Camp for Disabled Veterans. So that has EBV is the acronym, and they started at Syracuse, but they're at Texas A&M, LSU, UCLA, Purdue, UConn, so a number of schools. And the one you went to, Oklahoma State, also has a chapter at Florida, University of Florida. And Florida State is part of the EBV consortium as well. So all these are free. All these are free for veterans. And if their spouse wants to go, and the spouse wants to start a business, they have a program for them. They have a program specifically for Guard and Reserve members. So it'd be crazy not to apply and do that because that's free. You get to hear from experts. It's a week-long boot camp preceded by a month of online work. So you're really getting the nuts and bolts of how to run a business, because that's not something we typically know coming out in the military unless you have a family business experience or something like that. So I would definitely start there. And I would also look for a mentor. Those are available through Corporate America Partnership, I think it's what it's called. No, America Corporate Partnership, ACP. Also local chambers of commerce. You can talk to people there. But usually you should start a business that you know something about. Like when I did the shirts and the stuff they were rocking back, I didn't know that industry, and that hurt me. Inspirational speaking, I do know. I have a background as a trial attorney, so I know what it is to get in front of a group and talk. I think a lot of people think, oh, this would be a good idea. They may not have a background. They may not do market research to see if there's even a need for this, because your business is a solution to something that's missing in the marketplace. So if you don't do the right market research and you don't have a background, you may end up investing a lot of your own money and not getting anywhere. So you have to do the research and just ask for help from people, because so many people out there want to help us.
That's great information. And, you talk about these programs being for free. Actually, a lot of universities, they run these programs. They're not for free. But for veterans specifically, they are free, or the veteran's family. So that's another Benny for if you're a veteran out there. These are really good programs that they actually charge money for people to go to. But as a veteran, you can get them no cost. And a lot of times, if they're on site, they'll even include housing and feed you once in a while too. So there's a phenomenal deal.
That's right, and you can use a GI Bill to study business, study marketing, study entrepreneurship. Those programs are there, and those you go to a college. If you're interested in running your business, you should take business classes.
Well, Justin, what an epic story! I've heard it before, but it's fascinating every time I hear you talk. And just thanks for sharing your wisdom and your story of struggle and redemption, and ultimately success. And I'm really happy for you. I'm glad you're pulling in 10 G's a speech. That's awesome. So
I am too.
It's well deserved. So, well, I'll give the last word for you. Put a plug in for your inspirational speaking business, and anything else, final parting words you'd like for any of the veterans out there.
Okay, yeah, well, I appreciate that. My website is justinconstantine.com, pretty basic. Obviously, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer any questions any listeners may have. So find me at either of those or my emails, justin@justinconstantine.com. And if you have questions, reach out to me. If I don't know the answer, I'll certainly try to connect you with someone who does. And that goes for the business, or also if you're a wounded warrior or a spouse of a wounded warrior or family member has some questions about that as well. But, once you decide you want to be an entrepreneur, put your head down and put in the hard work, because it is hard work, just like everything else. And if you can, I would recommend have whatever job it is you're doing and get your business started on the side. And then when you have money coming in, then you can switch over and doing it full time. Because the worst thing to do, I think, is to launch a business and that'll be your sole source of income. And then you might face some problems at first and get really dissatisfied and be in a tough place. But there are a lot of resources out there for us. I've taken advantage of them, and you can too.
All right, Justin. Thanks again.
Thanks, Joe.
Simplify.
Okay. Hoorah. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Veteran on the Move, your pathfinder to freedom. If you like the show, leave us a review on iTunes. Reviews are always greatly appreciated. So until next time, this veteran is Oscar Mike.